The story kicks off with these giant, sinister pillars popping up out of nowhere. With that, barriers are erected, and a beam of purple light shoots up into the sky. But monsters known as disaster beasts have invaded the human world. These creatures of all kinds began to attack humanity. In the midst of the massacre, the boy's father yells at him to run and save himself. Chaos took over the streets as people ran for their lives. Suddenly, a blue, flamed monster turns towards the little boy. The creature then launches a fire attack in his and his mother's direction. She sacrifices herself to protect him, and with her last words, tells him to run. After that, our protagonist, Itsuki, wakes up from this nightmare to someone calling his name. A pink-haired girl asks what happened, but he just says it was nothing. She keeps looking at him, a bit suspicious, and asks if he's sure. Then she notices a tear on his face and asks why he's crying. A friend comes over to help and points to a teacher in a seriously weird outfit. The master begins a speech about the Awakened and a war from 10 years ago. His classmate questions why Itsuki doesn't know Commander Mendu Izumi. Right after, he explains that this commander was the very first Awakened of all. On top of that, he's the strongest and trained one of humanity's most famous heroes. The teacher reveals that normal people can awaken just by touching a monolith. From there, he says that everyone present will become awakened to fight in the war. Faced with the situation, a giant monolith begins to rise from the arena floor. The students go wild with excitement at the chance to finally awaken. The protagonist's friend nudges him excitedly, and Itsuki says the time has finally come. As the line forms, his classmate pulls him along so they don't get left behind. The pink-haired girl observes the grim expression on our hero's face. His eyes glow red as he says that the day has finally arrived. One by one, the students touch the monolith, but nothing happens to the first one. The other students get discouraged since the guy was an elite athlete. The line continues, and more students try their luck, but no one manages to awaken. Everyone starts to worry, thinking no one from their school will make the cut. The guard then calls the next in line, a guy named Hikaru Ushi. At this, the students get tense because the guy is a bully, and if he awakens, it's gonna spell trouble. Upon touching the monolith, a huge amount of blue lightning envelops his body. A screen reveals his elementalist stats with a total of 12 points. The commander's assistant comments that his stats should be 5, but they're 12. Hikaru brags to the commander, thinking he's the first awakened of the day. Just then, someone pulls him by the shoulder to get him away from the monolith. The bully turns around furious and yells, telling him to get his hands off and asking if he wants to get wrecked. The crowd recognizes Itsuki cutting the line and already thinks he's a goner. The blue-haired woman feels the intense emotion coming from our protagonist. Itsuki touches the stone and thinks about how he'll never forget his hatred for the beasts. The commander notices that the boy's determination is different from the others. Right after, a giant blue entity appears behind our hero. An absurd amount of energy starts pouring out of the monolith, completely surrounding the young man. This same energy impressively expands throughout the entire arena. The other students are shocked by the flower of energy that spans hundreds of feet. His friends don't waste any time and start cheering and celebrating for him. The assistant reveals that this phenomenon only occurs with the rarest class, the Order Breaker. Faced with the situation, the bully Hikaru looks less than thrilled. Our protagonist then goes to a place in his mind and wonders if he has awakened. He sees himself sitting in the middle of a glowing blue lotus flower made of energy. A screen appears showing his class and a Z-rank skill called Overmimesis. But when he looks at his stats, he sees that all his attributes are at 0. Right after his gift, Nirvana activates and his stats shoot up to 800. Itsuki smiles confidently because now he can finally exterminate the beasts. Back in the real world, the light is so bright that everyone has to cover their eyes. Slowly, the light subsides, and the boy's silhouette appears in front of the monolith. Hikaru Oshi is in disbelief at what he just witnessed right in front of him. The blue-haired woman can't believe a rookie has such absurd stats. Therefore, the commander declares that he is the strongest awakened in history. Our hero's status screen shows all his attributes at 200. With that, the crowd goes wild, celebrating this historic achievement. But Hikaru gets furious, thinking the guy stole the glory that was his. He floats in the air surrounded by lightning and calls Itsuki a total loser. From there, the bully unleashes his new skill called Silver Serpent. The protagonist system detects the technique and activates his Overmimesis skill. As the attack approaches, the analysis of the enemy's skill progresses rapidly. The lightning strike hits the ground hard, but our hero is no longer there. Everyone wonders where he went, as he vanished in the blink of an eye. Right after, Itsuki appears behind Hikaru and grabs him by the head. He then whispers that the bully is lucky he's human, or he'd already be pushing up daisies. Our protagonist steps away as the boy falls to the ground, powerless. Itsuki notes that the analysis speed was high because it was a C-rank skill. The analysis reaches 100%, and he acquires the Thunder Wave skill. His friends see him glow again, and one of them jokes that it's a good thing he wore glasses. Our protagonist understands that he always goes to this place at the end of an analysis. The screen shows the details of his new skill and his stats, which have increased by another 10 points. Back in reality, Itsuki stares down at the bully, who is trembling on the ground. Hikaru is terrified and doesn't understand how the guy copied his skill. The other students comment that his lightning is way stronger. The protagonist can't believe his stats went up again. His total points now reach 840. Suddenly, the sky turns dark and a heavy rain begins to fall. Soon after, the students notice something coming towards them. It's a giant dark monolith falling right on top of the school. With that, the commander cancels the ceremony and tells the students to evacuate. He's sure that he's the target of this attack. His blue-haired assistant says they should run too, as fighting isn't their specialty. But the commander says that if they flee, everyone will panic. He then points to Itsuki, who hasn't moved, and praises him for his courage. While everyone runs in the opposite direction, our hero faces the monolith alone. The blue-haired woman wonders why he isn't running. The giant pillar crashes into the arena floor, kicking up a lot of dust. His friends scream for him to get out of there, because a disaster beast is coming. But Itsuki says with hatred that he will exterminate them all. Riku and the girl warn him that he's going to get himself wiped out since he's a rookie awakened. Our hero looks at his friend and asks her to trust him, making her blush. Riku pulls the girl away, yelling not to blame them if he kicks the bucket. Itsuki smiles menacingly as this is his first enemy as an awakened. Luckily for him, it's the same type of creature that finished off his parents. The screen reveals the skeleton soldier's stats, which total 295 points. With that, our protagonist prepares to test the skill he just learned. He charges head-on towards the monster, and the two collide with great force. Soon after, he shouts with determination that he won't let anyone else perish in front of him ever again. His lightning-covered fist lands a direct hit on the skeletal creature's chest. The impact is so strong that the skeleton soldier is sent flying, shattering into pieces. The assistant and her colleague are shocked that Itsuki sent the creature flying with a single blow, but the commander explains that despite the boy's strength, the skeleton has two pesky skills. One of them is bonefire, which burns the body of anyone who touches it to ashes. His friends scream in despair as they see our protagonist engulfed in blue flames. Meanwhile, the bully Hikaru laughs like a madman, thinking he's about to turn to ash. But inside the fire, the Over-Mimesis skill activates to analyze the enemy's ability. The blue-haired woman says that even a level 10 awakened would be done for with a hit like that. The commander laments that a genius like him might fall before he can grow, while our protagonist feels his body burning. In his mind, he relives the moment he saw his mother consumed by the same blue flames to save him. But Commander Mendo Izumi believes that Itsuki hasn't shown his full power yet, and that he has an ace up his sleeve. The skill analysis finally reaches 100%, and the young man says the skeleton is now finished. His friend despairs, thinking he was foolish to have hope, but suddenly the blue lotus flower appears again. Faced with the situation, our protagonist re-emerges from the flames, wondering what skill he'll learn this time. The system screen reveals the new skill Black Ice Wall, and all his stats have been healed and increased. Right after, he's transported to that mental space inside the large, glowing blue lotus flower. Floating there, he feels completely recovered and his power renewed for the battle that awaits. From there, his friends go nuts, celebrating because they can't believe he's alive and completely healed. The commander's assistant is shocked and wonders if he has a healing skill since his class is a mystery. She gets curious about the limits of this recovery and wonders if he could heal from even more severe injuries. Back in the arena, the skeleton soldier roars furiously, not understanding why its fire attack didn't work. At that moment, Itsuki reveals his new ability, covering his body with black ice armor and facing the flames. With that, the blue fire that once burned him now engulfs him without causing any damage, showcasing his new power. With this, his new ice armor combines with the lightning he copied earlier, making him much stronger. From there, he transforms the ice into a kind of dragon and charges full speed towards the skeleton soldier. Soon after, he creates a giant sword of ice and thunder to finally finish off the creature once and for all. The blow hits the skeleton square on, shattering it into pieces instantly without giving it a chance to react. His classmates are shocked at his speed, which looks more like teleportation because it was so fast. Even the assistant and the teacher are left speechless, wondering if our hero is really a rookie. His armor dissipates as they comment on his skill, which is versatile enough for both offense and defense. Right after, his friend Riku calls out to him to see if he's okay after all the chaos. Riku hugs him, relieved that he won, and our protagonist asks where Sayo is since he doesn't see her around. His classmate says she was right there, almost crying with worry, but suddenly disappeared, and he doesn't know where she went. Our hero looks at the crowd and wonders if the girl got mad at him for taking such a big risk in the fight. The blue-haired woman can't believe he defeated such a strong monster, and the commander tells her to clean up the mess. Rikyu says she probably went to touch the monolith, afraid of being left behind, and that there's no reason to worry. Suddenly, a mysterious voice calls Itsuki's name from behind, catching him by surprise. As he turns around, our protagonist comes face to face with Commander Manhua, who is staring at him with a serious expression. The other students watch from a distance and speculate whether the commander will train him, but they think it's impossible. Riku gets awkward with the tension in the air and says he's gonna look for Sayo to get out of there as fast as possible. With that, the commander approaches our protagonist and says with a serious voice that he is quite special. Itsuki is a bit confused by the compliment and wonders what he means by the word special. Manhua explains that he can sense the young man's heart is completely filled with rage and hatred. From there, he says he wants to know the reason behind all this dark feeling the boy carries. Our hero then reveals that it all started 10 years ago when his parents were taken out by a disaster beast. A painful memory surfaces, showing his younger self crying in fear during that terrible attack. He says he almost bought the farm too, but an awakened appeared to save him right before his eyes. In her final moments, his mother told him to move forward and walk his own path alone. The little boy could only scream for his mother, completely desperate and not knowing what to do in that situation. He blamed himself for their passing, but soon that feeling of guilt transformed into an uncontrollable fury. At that moment, he saw the creature that was the root of all evil right in front of him and felt a deep hatred. His eyes glowed red as he swore to himself that one day he would get revenge for all of it. Back in the present, he finishes his story and promises with tears in his eyes that he will kill every single monster. The commander asks why he cries even with a heart full of hatred. Our hero explains that after the tragedy, only his right eye cries, making him never forget his hatred. Manhua invites him to be his student and join the Saviors League to get his revenge. He explains that it's a global organization with the strongest awakened to fight against the beasts. In addition, members called Saviors receive special training and high rewards every month. But he warns that this treatment isn't free, as the Saviors fight on the front lines to protect everyone. Our protagonist says he doesn't care about the rewards or resources, because what matters most to him is something else. With a determined look, he clenches his fist and shouts that he wants to become a savior to fight on the front lines. The commander explains that to do so, he needs to rank in the top 100 in a tournament with over 1,000 participants. Manhua says he's not much of a benchmark, but he'll tell him anyway. From there he reveals that the record is 115,000 points, set by Taiwajan 11 years ago. Itsuki recognizes the name of the hero known as the Light of Humanity, and the strongest awakened of all. The man says that comparing himself to him is foolish, but that our hero has the potential to stand side by side with the guy. Faced with the situation, our protagonist looks at him with confidence and declares that he will surpass the legendary Taiwajan. Upon hearing this bold declaration, a glimmer of surprise and interest appears in Commander Manhua eyes. In a flashback, Taiwajan reflects that a new sun must rise to win the war against the beasts. Faced with the situation, Commander Manhua says that the sun he was waiting for has finally appeared. Our protagonist is taken to a different place and asks what that giant structure is. Manhua explains that the stone monuments are like gateways to the world of the disaster beasts. Because of this, if only the creatures are killed without destroying the portal, more of them will keep coming. That building is a facility to isolate the monuments and serves as a training ground for the awakened. Itsuki asks if it's a training facility and the commander confirms, calling it a stage. He warns that the beasts there are quite strong and that the place is known as the Rookie Graveyard. Right after, he mentions that even Taiwajan as a rookie took 3 minutes and 14 seconds to pass. The man reminds him that he said he would surpass the hero, so he challenges him to finish in 3 minutes. Thus, he makes a proposal and says that if the young man succeeds, he will officially make him his student. As they enter the building, people recognize the commander and wonder who the rookie with him is. Our protagonist is a bit surprised by everyone's reaction and wonders if the guy is that famous. A screen shows that the level of the beasts there is 10, and Itsuki wonders how strong that really is. A crowd forms and starts speculating about the young man, with some thinking he's just a pretty face. Our protagonist goes to the reception desk and says he wants to enter the stage, and the woman asks how many people. With a confident look, he replies that he's going in alone, which leaves the receptionist quite surprised. The scene shows the young man standing there all by himself while others watch the situation from afar. The woman gets angry, thinking it's a joke, and warns him that it's a very dangerous place where he could get seriously hurt. The people in the crowd start laughing at him, thinking the boy is trying to hit on the receptionist. But Itsuki cuts her short, saying he has zero interest in her and his only goal there is to fight. She doesn't believe it and offers her number, thinking he's playing hard to get to save face. Faced with the situation, He gives her a dark look and tells her not to make him repeat that he doesn't want her number. Scared, the woman finally gives in and hands him the entry bracelet, warning that she's not responsible for anything. The crowd comments that he's an idiot and that a level 0 rookie in a level 10 stage is a suicide mission. Others think he has a special gift, but one guy says that level is more important than any power. With the bracelet in hand, our hero approaches the gate to finally scan it and enter the challenge. As he brings his wrist to the reader, a screen appears and confirms the entry of awakened Itsuki Tenma into the stage. He gets ready, cracking his knuckles, and remembers the promise is to finish everything in under 3 minutes. Right after, a digital timer starts running on the screen, and the challenge finally begins. As soon as the challenge starts, our protagonist gets ready for action, his eyes glowing red. He runs across a vast field and realizes the inside of the stage is much larger than he imagined. With a determined look, he stops and concentrates, as he can already feel the presence of enemies approaching. Suddenly, a wooden monster appears and attacks him, but the system screen reveals it's only level 4. Without wasting a second, our hero creates an ice blade and charges at the creature with everything he's got. With a smile on his face, he holds a giant ice axe and taunts the other monsters watching the scene. Soon after, an entire horde of wooden creatures appears and faces the young man, ready for combat. Outside, the assistant asks why the commander put him in this stage when there are others for rookies. She continues, saying that surpassing Taiwajan is impossible unless someone transcends humanity itself. The blue-haired woman remembers that the hero seemed gentle, but she saw him annihilate a level 97 beast. At that moment, his eyes were cold and lonely, not looking at all like those of a human being. She concludes her memory by saying that those weren't the eyes of a man, but the eyes of a true god. The commander then states that the boy has the potential to rival Taiwajan, but is still a diamond in the rough. He says that if the hero is a god who saves people, Itsuki is the exact opposite, a demon consumed by hatred. Our protagonist realizes that a beast of this level can't even activate his over-mimesis skill. With this thought, his inner demon awakens with a deep hatred reflected in his red eyes. Thus, our protagonist charges forward with his ice blade and destroys all the monsters in his path. Faced with the situation, he wonders if that's all there is and if a level 10 beast is really that weak. But he concludes it can't be that easy, and his system activates over-mimesis upon detecting a regeneration skill. From there, the analysis of the enemy skill begins, with progress at 5%. Right after, the body of the monster he had cut in half begins to regenerate rapidly. The creature regenerates completely, and a screen shows that its stats have increased significantly. To defend himself, our hero activates his black ice wall, creating a blade on his arm. He realizes he needs to deal massive damage to prevent regeneration, and the analysis reaches 17%. Itsuki continues to attack relentlessly with his ice blades as the analysis progresses a little more. Our protagonist then delivers a powerful downward strike with a giant ice sword. The attack cuts the wooden creature right down the middle, leaving it completely split in two. With a wicked smile, the young man shouts that it's not over yet, and that he'll chop it up so it can't regenerate. He then uses his ice-covered arms to keep the two halves of the monster separated. With that, the creature finally breaks into several pieces and is defeated once and for all. Our protagonist comments that using the black ice for so long is draining his mana, but to his surprise, the wooden creature starts to reassemble right in front of him. Because of this, the monster attacks him, and he complains that the thing still isn't down for the count, as the analysis hits 60%. With each regeneration, the analysis advances, and he decides to use lightning to save mana and keep his distance. He knows that victory depends on the analysis, but time is running out, and he needs to hurry. With little time left before the 3-minute mark, he combines ice and thunder, and the analysis climbs to 75%. He then activates both skills to force regeneration and speed up the skill copy. Itsuki knows it's risky because if the copy skill requires mana, he's toast. While dodging attacks, the analysis reaches 80%, bringing him closer to his goal. Even so, he accepts the risk, and the analysis climbs another 5% while he's mid-attack. With his eyes glowing red, our hero charges forward, covered in a lightning aura. He lands a devastating blow on the wooden monster's head with all his strength. Completely exhausted, the young man can barely stay on his feet after using so much energy. With that, the creature impales him with several spikes, and he realizes his mana has run out. But he smiles because the copy doesn't use mana, and with the analysis complete, he declares the fight is his. With the analysis at 100%, the blue lotus flower appears, and he acquires the Lotus Burst skill. A screen reveals the details of the new ability, which deals explosive damage and has a passive effect. As a result, he gains 20 points in all stats and has his injuries completely healed. Faced with the situation, our protagonist faces the monster and prepares to activate his new ability. With that, he joins his hands to finally test the power of Lotus Burst on the creature. A gigantic explosion in the shape of a fiery lotus flower hits the wooden monster head-on. The impact is so strong that it destroys everything around in a massive wave of flames and destruction. Our hero is satisfied with the result and says the new skill isn't half bad. He's surprised that the copy skill also restored his mana and that clearing out monsters will be easier. Amidst the smoke, he wonders what that is when he sees a glowing green crystal on the ground. Outside, the receptionist is panicking because he's been in there for almost 3 minutes and wants to call for rescue. The assistant thinks it's impossible for him to win in minutes, even though she knows he wouldn't lose to the creature. Suddenly, the screen turns green and shows that a new record has been set, leaving everyone shocked. The blue-haired woman can't believe what she's seeing and wonders how he managed to complete the challenge. The panel confirms his success in 2 minutes and 14 seconds, and she shouts that it hasn't even been 3 minutes. Right after, Itsuki exits the portal and collapses on the ground exhausted, but the screen confirms his new record. The crowd goes wild because he was a minute faster than Taiwajin, despite being just a level 0 rookie. Our protagonist gets up and asks the commander if this means he'll officially become his student. With a confident smile, he looks at the man and calls him Master for the first time. Mendo Izumi praises him and accepts him as his pupil, and his assistant notes that he hasn't been this happy in a long time. The crowd is shocked to learn he's the commander's student, but some still doubt his potential. Seeing this, the receptionist approaches embarrassed with a gift and apologizes for being rude. Itsuki accepts the box and says it's no problem since she was just worried about a stranger. From there, he thanks her for her concern, leaving her completely red-faced and flustered. The blue-haired woman calls him to leave, seeming a bit annoyed with the situation. She then warns him not to get a big head just for being her father's student, and the commander suggests raising the level. The man says the current stage is too easy and that our hero can already try an advanced one. As they walk out, the commander explains that level isn't the most important factor in a beast's strength. From there, he reveals that the decisive factor is the creature's species, as some act purely on instinct. But there are species with intelligence equal to or greater than humans, and they are much more dangerous. The blue-haired woman explains that awakened and beasts are similar, but only humans possess classes. Because of this, she says his next destination will be the advanced stages of District 4. With a furious look, our protagonist wonders if the beasts he killed felt any pain. Faced with the situation, the assistant gets scared by his dark aura and wonders what he's thinking. Some people comment that the stages in District 4 are controlled by someone named Reiji Kinoshita. One of the guys gets spooked and tells his friend to shut up, because if someone hears them, they could get in trouble. Meanwhile, we see Reiji Kinoshita, the son of the North District's chief, in a very arrogant scene. A guard asks when he's leaving, but the young man says the place is his and he'll leave when he wants. With a snobbish smile, he claims that waiting in lines is for common folk, not for him. Back to our hero, he opens the receptionist's gift and finds a glowing white stone inside. Later, he's sitting with the commander and the assistant and says he recognizes that stone. Mendo Izumi asks if he's seen a karma stone before, and the young man holds the item. Itsuki remembers the large green crystal the beast left behind and says there's a small difference. He compares the white stone he received with the green one he saw before and notes that the color is different. The assistant is shocked to learn he found an intermediate karma stone in a rookie stage. The blue-haired woman remembers he's a rookie and explains that karma stones are experience stones. So, when a beast is defeated, it releases an energy that the victor absorbs to level up. Thus, the stone is basically a crystal that stores all that energy to be used later. But she finds it very strange that one of those formed naturally in such a simple stage. Commander Mendo Izumi then says it was probably because of our protagonist's gift. Both the young man and the assistant are confused, not understanding what he means by gift. The man explains that normally he would absorb the experience, but the boy didn't level up. From there, he theorizes that the energy from the first monster was absorbed by everyone who was there. In other words, he and the blue-haired woman ended up unintentionally stealing the young man's experience. But since there was no one else in the stage, the energy solidified and became the karma stone. The assistant then asks how his stats increase if he can't level up normally. The commander cuts her off immediately, saying that an awakened's gift is confidential. He tells Itsuki to do whatever he wants with the stone and informs him that he'll be away at a conference for a while. Before leaving, he gives him 4 rules: keep the secret, don't talk about his gift, and clear 6 stages. Our protagonist agrees with a confident smile and says he'll follow all of his master's orders. In District 4, 2 awakened are arguing with some security guards. They're complaining that the stage was reserved by the Kinoshita family. One of them gets angry, saying that having money doesn't give them the right to do whatever they want. The guy insists on going in since the rich kid hasn't even arrived. With that, he threatens to report everything to the Awakened Guild. But a dark figure with red eyes appears behind them. Right after, one of the guys tries to attack, but a brute hits him with a punch. The blow sends the other young man flying. The muscular man charges forward with his fist at high speed towards the awakened. From there, his punch clashes with the young man's earth attack. The guy's blow is completely destroyed on impact. The awakened is shocked because his B-rank skill didn't work. He can't believe his attack didn't even tickle him. The brute reveals a metallic face with glowing red eyes. He says with a smile that it didn't even tickle. The other guy is terrified and wonders if he's a monster. After all, his technique could pierce through anything. Thus, Takeru grabs him by the collar with a frightening expression. The young man is completely frozen in the face of danger. Without any mercy, the muscular man attacks the young awakened in front of him. The boy doesn't stand a chance of defending himself. The crowd recognizes the attacker as Takeru Oga, one of Rigi's pillars. He's a level 12 metal elementalist. Takeru holds both guys and warns that no one enters without permission. He threatens that anyone who resists will meet the same fate. He throws one to the ground and holds the other by the neck to make the message clear. The brute says not to even think about helping the two. One of the men in suits tells Takeru not to overdo it, cause people are watching. He warns that the master might get mad at him. Takeru simply ignores the warning and throws the young man to the ground with disdain. He doesn't seem to care about the consequences. Suddenly, our protagonist and the blue-haired woman appear to help the injured guy, who points at the attacker. The crowd comments that the young man is level 0 and that he's done for by helping. Another says the woman next to him looks familiar. With that, Takeru shouts furiously that no one passes without permission and tells him to get lost if he doesn't want to end up like the others. Our hero understands he needs to defeat him to enter. Meanwhile, the blue-haired woman says she'll call the administrator. But Itsuki stops her and says there's no need. He remembers his master's words to fight for what he believes in with all his strength. From there, he asks the assistant to take care of the injured while he deals with the brute. The system shows our protagonist's stats. Takeru scoffs at him, wondering why a level 0 dares to challenge him. But Takeru feels a strange pressure coming from the young man. His stats are revealed, showing a total of 605 points. Even with the level advantage, the brute gets tense and doesn't understand what's happening. He focuses his gaze on the boy, trying to understand where all that confidence and hidden power comes from. In the reflection of his eye, he sees our protagonist charging towards him at an absurd speed. Without a chance to react, Itsuki lands a devastating punch right on Takeru's metallic face. The crowd is shocked by the young man's speed. One of them says that even at level 8, he couldn't keep up. The impact of the blow is so strong that it starts to crack the metal defense of Takeru's face. Takeru holds his metal face and praises the young man's speed. He notices the crack that our hero's punch caused, but he says it lacks power and counters with a powerful kick. The blow sends our protagonist flying. With that, Itsuki realizes he needs to use his Thunder Wave. That way he can increase his agility and attack a stronger enemy. His status screen shows his attributes, and the Over-Mimesis skill is activated. The analysis of the enemy's metallization begins at 1%. Our hero is surprised that the skill was strong enough to activate his copy. He then decides it's time to fight seriously. From there, he understands he needs to aim for the opponent's fleshy parts. The analysis climbs to 5% as he plans. Without wasting any more time, our protagonist plants his feet firmly on the ground. He prepares to charge forward with all his speed. Takeru taunts him, saying he has neither power nor speed. The brute prepares for another attack with a smile on his face. Our hero takes advantage of his opponent's open guard. He decides to use Thunder Wave to increase his speed even more. Takeru is startled to see him use a lightning element. Itsuki charges, saying he won't give him time to metallize. In a series of rapid blows, the analysis advances relentlessly. The percentage jumps from 25 to 66 in seconds. The crowd is shocked and wonders how he's using skills from another class. They think the level 0 might actually beat Takeru. The brute becomes desperate with the young man's speed. He knows that if this continues, he's going to lose the fight badly. Faced with the situation, he can't even give a command. Takeru yells at his men to stop watching and help him. He realizes he's reached his limit and has no other choice. With clenched teeth, he decides to play his last card. With a shout, Takeru unleashes an absurd amount of energy. The power is so great that his shirt tears completely in the process. From there, he metallizes his entire body, and the analysis reaches 88%. He thanks our hero for cornering him. The brute explains that his metal parts get a defense bonus. With that, his total defense surpasses 500 points. He says he was planning to cut the young man in half, but out of gratitude, he promises to give him a quick and painless end. The crowd can't believe it, as that's a very high defense. They thought the level 0 boy had already won the fight. Our protagonist theorizes that the transformation consumes a lot of mana. Therefore, his mana can't be that high with so much defense. Takeru laughs at the theory, but inside he's quite surprised. He wonders how a level 0 can have such good intuition. Itsuki says he won't try to exhaust his mana because he's going to end it all right now. Soon after, the analysis finally reaches 100%. The blue-haired woman sees the lotus flower appearing again. She realizes our protagonist is getting stronger. The people in the crowd don't understand the skill. They think it's not an attack and wonder how he'll win with it. The analysis finishes, and he acquires the piercing sphere. The problem is that its speed is only 1 meter per second. With a determined look, our hero vows to crush that defense. He will destroy his opponent's greatest pride. With the new skill, his stats increase by another 10 points, his injuries are healed, and he appears inside the blue lotus flower. He challenges Takeru to try and dodge his new attack. With that, he activates the piercing sphere with a confident smile. The crowd can't believe a level 0 broke the defense of a level 12. They think there's something very strange in his eyes. A small sphere of dark purple energy appears in front of our hero. It glows intensely with a mysterious power. From there, the sphere begins to flow towards the crowd. The attack moves very slowly and predictably. The people in the crowd laugh at the skill, finding it all very disappointing. One of them comments that it's just a little ball. With that, Takeru also scoffs at him and tells him not to make him laugh. He can't believe such a weak attack could stop him. He looks at the sphere with a mocking smile on his face. The brute wonders if this is the young man's big trump card. He then warns that the boy will meet a pathetic end. But the sphere hits him square in the chest, catching him by surprise. Suddenly, Takeru's expression changes to one of shock and pain. He doesn't understand how it managed to pierce his defense. The small sphere passes through his metal body as if it were nothing. The attack completely pierces his absolute defense. Itsuki says he only spared his right arm because he's human. If he were a beast, he would have gone straight for the enemy's neck. Right after, he turns to the henchmen in suits. With a cold look, he tells them to take the injured guy to a hospital. He then shouts angrily, telling them all to get out of his sight. His patience with the situation has run out. Scared, the men in suits pick up their fallen boss from the ground. They hurry to get out of there as fast as possible. The blue-haired woman and the crowd celebrate the unexpected victory. They can't believe our protagonist actually managed it. The two guys he saved call him over to form a group. They say the three of them together can clear the stage in no time. One of them gets excited and says they have a healer on the team. With that, they can recover mana and use the sphere multiple times. Our protagonist thinks it's perfect that the monster's defense is high. That way, he can increase the speed of his new sphere. Faced with the situation, the two young men pressure him to join the group. They anxiously await the boy's response. But with a serious look, he refuses the offer immediately. Itsuki states with certainty that he will enter the challenge alone. The crowd is shocked by the young man's decision. They can't believe he's going into an advanced level 15 stage alone. The blue-haired woman warns him that he's pushing his luck. At that, one of the young men says goodbye and says he'll look for another team. The assistant then warns him about the monster's high defense. She worries if his mana will hold up, and he reassures her. The woman turns bright red and denies being worried. She says she'll help the injured and tells him to do whatever he wants. Before leaving, she warns him that the stone beasts travel in groups. She also tells him to be careful with his mana consumption. Our hero agrees and approaches the gate to enter. The system confirms the entry of awakened Itsuki Tenma. Upon entering the stage, he takes in the scenery before him. He realizes the number of enemies is much larger than he expected. The place is a rocky and desolate battlefield. Several stone creatures with glowing eyes stare at him from a distance. The system screen shows the stats of a stone statue. The creature has a total of 460 points and converts magic into defense. Our protagonist prepares to test his new ability. He wants to see if the monsters trigger the sphere's passive condition. With that, the piercing sphere is activated with an intense glow. The purple and blue energy concentrates in his hand for the attack. Soon after, he launches the orb towards the stone creature. The monster charges forward, completely unaware of the danger. The sphere hits the monster and opens a giant hole in its chest. The system confirms the defeat of the level 9 stone statue. With that, our hero confirms his theory, and the sphere's speed increases by 100%. He knew it would work. Right after, 3 more stone creatures appear and face him, ready to attack. They seem much angrier than the previous one. He then thinks that slow monsters are perfect targets for his new ability. He covers himself in lightning and gets ready. He defeats a few more enemies and sees that each shot costs 50 mana. With his current mana, he only has 2 shots left. Faced with the situation, he sees 2 monsters coming, and the boss hasn't appeared yet. He needs to conserve his attacks for the end. From there, he realizes he needs to defeat 2 at once with a single attack. He concentrates his energy for the perfect shot. He then launches the sphere at the ground to create a dust screen. The explosion kicks up a lot of rocks and distracts the monsters. Taking advantage of the distraction, He leaps into the air to catch the creatures by surprise. This gives him a tactical advantage from above. With a wicked look and a smile on his face, he prepares for the final blow. His eyes glow red with adrenaline. He concentrates all his energy into the sphere and launches it with all his might from above. The purple energy glows intensely in the air. The attack hits both monsters dead on, and the sphere's speed increases again. The system confirms the 2 eliminations. Completely exhausted and out of mana, he falls to the ground. Our protagonist complains, wishing he had a recovery skill. Even tired, he notes that he can now hit targets running at 5 meters per second. His ability has gotten much stronger. The screen shows the details of the piercing sphere. The skill's speed increase can reach up to 500%. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently, and a gigantic shadow covers our protagonist. Right after, the stage boss emerges with a thunderous roar, kicking up a lot of dust. The stone creature activates a B-rank skill called Gigantification, becoming enormous. The screen reveals that the monster is level 15 and has a total of 777 points. Faced with the danger, Itsuki activates his Thunder Wave to increase his agility by 50%. Our protagonist wonders if his piercing sphere can get through such a tough creature. Because of this, he decides the best chance is to aim for the creature's head to deal more damage. He jumps high and finds a perfect opening to launch his attack with everything he has. But he realizes the sphere is too small and might not cause enough damage to take down the giant. The stone monster takes the opportunity and launches an attack with its enormous arm towards him. Our hero despairs, knowing he can't dodge the blow while in mid-air. With no other option, he activates his black ice wall to try and protect himself from the impact. The blow hits his ice defense with absurd force, shattering everything. He's thrown against the wall and admits the creature is much stronger than he imagined. With that, his over-mimesis skill activates upon detecting Gigantification, and he smiles because this will help him. Far away, Reiji Kinoshita is in his mansion when one of his men receives a call and is shocked. The rich kid gets annoyed by the noise and tells the guy to be quiet because he hates shouting. The man apologizes, and the young man asks what happened to make him so surprised. He then reveals that someone defeated Takeru Oga and forced their way into the reserved stage. Reiji gets furious and wonders if it was an awakened above level 30 who did it. His henchman explains that the high-level awakened are busy, and there are only rookies there. Because of this, he thinks it's impossible for a rookie to beat Takaru, and Reiji asks for more information. But Reiji says he doesn't need details, and that if they leave now, they'll arrive in time. The rich kid gets irritated by the hesitation and yells at him to get a move on without making him repeat himself. Scared, the man agrees immediately and prepares to leave with his boss. Reiji takes off his coat and vows to get revenge on whoever messed with the Kinoshita family. Back at the stage, the analysis reaches 100%, and our hero appears in the lotus flower. With that, the skill has been copied, and the giant stone creature is still staring him down. Itsuki sees that the analysis is complete, but his piercing sphere has leveled up to level 2. The screen shows that the sphere now travels at 7 meters per second, and its size can be adjusted. Our protagonist sees that the passive bonus has doubled, and he can change the sphere's size with mana. With this, he gets excited and decides to test his new ability right away, without wasting time. The screen shows that he gained piercing sphere level 2 and 20 stat points, but his totals have decreased. On top of the giant golem, he spends all his mana to create the strongest piercing sphere he can manage. The gigantic purple and black sphere descends with full force towards the stone creature. The attack hits dead on and pierces the monster from top to bottom with absurd power. Lying on the ground exhausted, our hero smiles and wonders if he overdid it since his mana is at 0. The system confirms the golem's defeat and a 200% increase in the sphere's speed. He holds a green karma stone and calculates that if he goes through twice more, the sphere will be as fast as a car. From there, he realizes he ignored the passive effects, but they're actually quite useful. With a smile, he remembers that Lotus Burst increases the range of all his skills. The screen explains that the skill increases range by 1% with each kill, and he imagines the potential. Outside, the panel shows that the challenge was completed in 3 minutes and 1 second. The crowd is in shock because a group of 5 takes 10 minutes, and he broke Taiwajan's record. When they see our hero coming out, they wonder why he's still level 0 and doesn't even look injured. The blue-haired assistant watches him and says he passed again without a scratch and even broke the record. She then comments that he was pretty fast and looks at him with a surprised expression. Our hero explains that the creature was weak against piercing attacks and asks what that glowing butterfly is. With that, the woman introduces herself as a Shikigami user and says the butterfly is her jade familiar. The young man is amazed and says it's the first time he's seen a Shikigami, and that it's very beautiful. He then asks what types of awakened classes there are, and she's shocked that he doesn't know. The assistant explains that there are 4 main categories and that he's already seen 3 of them. The first are elementalists, who manipulate one of the 7 elements, and are the most common and powerful. From there, she mentions his classmate as an example of an elementalist awakened. Besides him, the brute Takeru he faced earlier is also a metal elementalist. The second class is the Shikigami user, who can summon a familiar that only obeys them. She reveals that the familiar has been with its master since birth, and its stats are shown. The blue-haired woman finishes her explanation and asks if our hero has any questions. Itsuki notes that her Shikigami is stronger than her and questions if she's really a senior. The assistant gets flustered by the question and annoyed that he's so direct and unfiltered. The assistant explains that Shikigamis also absorb experience, which is why they are always stronger than their masters. With a dark look, our protagonist thinks it's easier to attack the user directly in a fight. The blue-haired woman gets scared as she feels his dark aura leaking out again and wonders what's wrong with him. Our hero ignores her concern and asks what the next class is since she's only mentioned 2 so far. Faced with the situation, she reveals that the third class is the most mysterious of all, with very little information available. Right after, she points out that this class is his, the Order Breaker, leaving the young man surprised. The reason for the mystery is that each one has different abilities, like our hero's blue lotus flower. From there, she gives examples like controlling body size, creating clones, or even stretching. She shows that normal skills range from C to S rank, but Order Breakers have exclusive Z rank skills. It's because of these unique skills that they are special, and that's why her father scolded her for asking about his. She then calls him an irregular existence because he used 3 different skills, and 2 were elementalist skills. Our protagonist thinks that since his master isn't around, it's fine for her to keep talking about him. He then asks about the last remaining class, but the blue-haired woman signals for silence. With a smile, she says this is punishment for him not telling her anything about himself. He accepts the punishment, and she informs him that the student he saved is fine and asks about his plans. Our protagonist says he's going to clear the stage again, but the woman warns him there's a 2-day cooldown. He's surprised by the waiting time and decides to focus on leveling up his other skill, Lotus Burst. With that, our hero asks if there's a stage with lots of monsters for him to train. The assistant smiles and says she knows the perfect place for what he wants to do. She warns him it will be difficult without an area of effect attack, but he smiles confidently at the idea. He confirms he's going in and realizes she doesn't know about his Lotus Burst. The place is the Locust Desert, and it has over 1,000 low-level monsters, but in large numbers. Faced with the situation, she insists it will be dangerous, but the young man reassures her and says he'll be fine. The crowd thinks he's crazy, and one of them remembers that Reiji Kinoshita will definitely show up. Meanwhile, the rich kid arrives at the stage and realizes his target is no longer there. His henchman confirms the target is gone, and that he cleared the place in just 30 minutes. Reiji gets furious because he can't believe the young man is making a fool of him like that. He then orders his men to contact a tracker to follow the mana trails. With great hatred, he shouts that he wants the guy alive, because he's going to make him taste hell on earth. Far away, an assassin is hiding and complains that he didn't know the rich kid had such a strong subordinate. The assassin is relieved to have escaped and thinks that if it weren't for his skill, he'd already be a goner. He hides in an alley and believes he's safe now because he managed to get away for good. But suddenly, a giant wolf with red eyes appears and attacks him by surprise. The creature bites him hard, giving the young man no chance to defend himself from the attack. From the top of a building, the tracker Charles watches the scene with his giant wolf. The assassin is terrified and doesn't understand how the guy managed to find him so quickly. With a smile, Charles explains that his familiar, named Mort, has a very keen sense of smell. He then reveals that his wolf can smell the scent of demise that the assassin exudes. Desperate, the man begs not to be taken out and starts crying in fear of the situation. But Charles says he can't, because Mr. Kinoshita would be mad at him if he spared him. With his eyes glowing red, he tells his wolf to enjoy the meal that's been served. The giant wolf then moves in to finally end the poor guy's life right there. Soon after, Charles comments that his familiar has finally leveled up after so long. The screen shows the stats of the Hound of Mort, now at level 16 with new skills. Faced with the situation, he answers a call and says with a serious voice that the job is done. Charles receives a call and finds out that Oga was seriously injured. He wonders if they found the brute's weak spot. With a smile, he turns to his giant wolf and says that a new prey has appeared for them to hunt. Far away, our protagonist and the blue-haired woman arrive at a place called the Locust Desert. He looks at the wheat fields and wonders if there are really that many locusts around. The assistant explains that the beasts choose environments they like, and predicting that is a basic skill. She comments that the stage is so dangerous they're considering closing it, and our hero notices there's no receptionist. The young man questions the reason, as it's only level 13, but she says the rules there are different. Because of this, She reveals that the beasts are aggressive, and their numbers are absurd. A single second of carelessness is enough to be surrounded by locusts and devoured alive. The scene shows a skull picked clean to the bone as proof of the danger that awaits him, but our hero smiles and says that's exactly what he wanted, and the woman wonders if he wants to check out. With a confident look, he states that he's not desperate enough to become insect food. The assistant watches him enter the portal and notes that despite everything, he seems quite confident. She thinks to herself that she warned him about everything, and if he ends up done for, it's not her fault. Suddenly, she remembers that the locusts spawn endlessly until the boss is defeated and decides to go warn him. The blue-haired woman prepares to enter the portal with a determined look. She's decided to warn the boy. But before she could enter, Charles and his giant wolf stop her. They block her path immediately. With a sinister smile and red eyes, he says he's looking for someone. The situation suddenly becomes much more tense. Meanwhile, our protagonist enters the stage. He looks at the place and comments that it's a huge mess. With a smile on his face, he claps his hands and calls the pests for extermination. He seems very confident in his abilities. In the middle of the desolate field, a scarecrow stands out. The scene shows how abandoned and creepy the place is. The system screen reveals level 1 and level 2 locusts. He notes that their individual levels are quite low. Soon after, a giant swarm of locusts appears in the sky. Our hero realizes the quantity is insane. With a wicked look, he activates his Lotus Burst. The young man says this situation is perfect for him to train. He covers himself with his ice armor and explains his plan. He'll let them all gather to finish them off at once. The swarm of locusts completely surrounds him, and he shouts now. The time to attack has finally come. With that, the Lotus Burst is activated instantly. An intense light erupts from the middle of the monster horde. The skill explodes with full force and destroys several locusts. The system confirms the kills and the range increase. Amidst the destruction, Itsuki stands still as more notifications pop up. The power of his skill is absurd. The screen shows the level 2 skill with a diameter of 10.5 meters. The total range has increased to 110%. Our protagonist calculates that with 10% of his mana, he can get off about 10 shots and increase his range by 1000%. The screen shows his mana at 280 out of 252, and he complains about the stage's cooldown time. He's confused because the success notification hasn't appeared, and he starts to suspect something is off. Suddenly, his system detects a C-rank skill, and the overmimesis analysis is activated at 1%. Faced with the situation, the young man is surprised and wonders if there are still survivors around. Right after, a new horde of locusts surrounds him again, coming from all directions. With his ice armor, he realizes he was careless and that the detected skill must belong to the stage boss. The problem now is that he has no idea where the boss is hiding, but he can still increase his range. He then decides he will keep killing the locusts until the big boss finally shows up. From there, he launches another explosion, and the system confirms the kills, increasing his range to 220%. Our hero is shocked because the diameter of his skill now reaches 16 meters, and the effect is insane. Even after wiping out so many swarms, he wonders why the boss still hasn't made an appearance. The scene then reveals that the locusts are hatching from eggs that were hidden underground. With that, the creatures are reborn, and he realizes the assistant was right about the infinite respawn. As the monsters keep appearing, the analysis of the boss's skill climbs to 27%. His status screen shows he has mana for 9 more explosions, and he prepares to continue. With his hands ablaze, our protagonist shouts that it doesn't matter how many times they come back. Soon after, he joins his hands with his ice armor and vows to exterminate them all. From there, he launches another devastating explosion, and the system confirms the eliminations. The notifications keep popping up as the skill is used twice in a row. Without giving the monsters a chance, he continues the attack, using the skill 7 times in succession. The screen reveals that the skill's diameter is now 4.5 meters with a bonus of 990%. Faced with the situation, he realizes he only has mana for one last shot, but the locusts keep coming. Completely surrounded, he shouts that the enemies are endless, and the situation becomes desperate. On top of that, he realizes the boss still hasn't appeared and considers retreating to finish the analysis. But he quickly dismisses the idea, as retreating now would be a loser's mentality, and he won't give up. He then prepares for his last attack with red eyes and says he will kill them all. With that, he launches his final Lotus Burst with all the strength he has left. Exhausted, he drops to his knees on the ground and realizes that at this rate, he won't last much longer. Even after so many attacks, he realizes the number of locusts hasn't decreased at all. The analysis reaches 91%, and he realizes that all the beasts after the first one were level 1. With this, he finally understands that the boss's skill is infinite reproduction, and a locust queen appears. The screen shows the queen's stats, who is level 13 and can control up to 110 locusts at once. Our hero knows he needs to kill the source, but his mana is out, and the analysis is almost at 100%. Right after, a blue sphere appears, and the analysis finally ends, saving him from the situation. He acquires the Mana Sense skill, which restores 10% of his mana for each enemy detected. Our protagonist celebrates because the skill has a range of over 1,000 meters and also restores his mana. With a wicked smile, he realizes he could farm the locusts forever with this ability. But he decides to finish it quickly because the blue-haired woman is waiting for him outside the stage. The screen confirms that he gained 10 points in all stats and had his health and mana completely restored. His total stats now reach 1,120, and he prepares to locate the boss with his new skill. From there, he releases a wave of blue energy that spreads across the entire battlefield to track it. The mana wave expands and finally finds the Locust Queen, who is hidden underground. With his eyes glowing blue, he shouts with a smile that he finally found the creature. Faced with the situation, he prepares to launch his final attack with a confident look and a smile on his face. With that, he says that hiding behind her children is useless and readies his piercing sphere. From there, he combines the sphere with his passive and launches it with full force towards the boss. The screen shows that the attack's range is 120 meters, and the orb tears through the ground with speed. Faced with the situation, the Locust Queen is hit head-on by the blow and sent flying. Soon after, our protagonist appears behind her, covered in lightning and his ice armor. With a wicked smile and his eyes glowing, he declares that the fight is over with a checkmate. He then cuts her into pieces with his ice blade, giving the creature no chance at all. Seeing the other locusts, he realizes that without the queen, they've fallen into total chaos. With a flaming hand, he says not to worry, because he'll send them to be with their mummy. He comments that the range of his skills has increased to over 1,210%, and the orb's range to 131 meters. The screen confirms that the Lotus Burst's diameter is now 65.5 meters and the orb's range has increased. Our hero picks up an item and says the harvest was great, and that he'll be back to level up his passive even more. As he leaves, he sets a new record of 17 minutes and 7 seconds and thinks the assistant must be worried. He sees her waiting and already imagines he's going to get an earful when he gets close to her. With a smile, he finds her quirky side cute and apologizes for making her worry. As he approaches, our protagonist sees the assistant collapsed on the ground and a pair of red eyes staring at him from the darkness. Charles holds her by the neck and says that if she cleared the stage alone, then she's the person Reiji is looking for. He continues, saying he tried to get information from her, but even injured, the girl didn't say a word. Right after, our hero appears and tells him to get his dirty hands off her, and in return, he'll leave him barely standing. The man in the hat starts laughing at the threat and tells the boy not to get cocky just because he's a level 0 rookie. Without wasting a second, Itsuki charges forward, covered in lightning, towards the enemy to attack. Charles is shocked by the young man's absurd speed and feels that his end is approaching. But the giant wolf Mort appears in front and blocks the punch with its head to protect its master. The system detects the B-rank Shikigami, and over-mimesis is activated, starting the analysis of the creature. With this, our protagonist realizes the wolf is a Shikigami, and that the guy in the hat is a user. Charles compliments his movements and speed and understands why Oga lost without even using his armor. He then says he has the wolf Mort and a hostage and uses the blue-haired girl as a shield. Itsuki shouts the girl's name Ajaha while holding back the wolf, and the analysis of the creature continues to rise. From there, the creature opens its enormous mouth and tries to bite our hero's arm with all its might. Charles then taunts him, saying that Morty's bite can crush any defense below 300. Charles's expression changes to pure shock as he can't believe what he's seeing, but our hero blocks the bite with his ice arm and prepares his piercing sphere. With that, the sphere explodes inside the wolf's mouth, sending it flying with the force of the impact. The young man says that without the Shikigami, the user is defenseless, and the analysis reaches 77%. Charles is shocked and wonders if the boy really knows that he's just a rookie. He explains that Mort has a respawn skill that drastically reduces its revival time. Faced with the situation, the giant wolf regenerates, and Charles yells for him to become dog food. With that, our protagonist activates his mana sense, and a wave of energy spreads across the area. He dodges the attack and says that keeping the skill active was the right call, and the analysis continues. Itsuki thinks the analysis is almost done, but if the lotus appears, the enemy might get suspicious. Charles becomes desperate because the young man has more power, speed, and even a detection skill. He then threatens the assistant again and says that if he resists any longer, she's a goner. Our hero wants to finish the analysis without summoning the blue lotus flower, but the situation is complicated. The analysis finishes, and he acquires the Shikigami Eater skill, which allows him to control the creature. His stats increase by 20 points, but the healing fails because the copy activation was incomplete. Our protagonist realizes the healing effect is gone because he skipped the Blue Lotus, but he doesn't care since he's already recovered. The wolf mort charges to attack again, and the young man realizes his new skill can steal Shikigami from others. Faced with the situation, he prepares to use the new ability and take control of the creature once and for all. With his eyes glowing red, he touches the wolf's head and shouts that he's taking this dog for himself. From there, a blue light envelops the creature, and it begins to transform right in front of him. Taking advantage of the distraction, he lands a powerful kick on the guy in the hat, sending him flying. Charles gets furious with the wolf and shouts, calling the creature useless after all the experience he gave it. He then grabs the assistant more tightly and threatens to finish her off if the young man resists any longer. With her last bit of strength, Aja tells our protagonist not to worry about her and to keep fighting. Our hero then raises his hands in surrender and shouts for the enemy not to touch the girl. Charles smiles and says that if he had been obedient from the start, the woman wouldn't have suffered so much. The young man then asks why he's being attacked, as he doesn't remember picking a fight with him. The man introduces himself as Charles and reveals that he was sent by Reiji Kinoshita to capture him. Upon hearing the rich kid's name, our protagonist understands he needs to find him to have a chat. Charles threatens him and warns that the wolf mort will tear off his legs if he uses his ice to defend himself. Charles then shouts for his wolf mort to rip off both of our hero's legs at once. But Itsuki also gives an order and tells the creature to prove it's worthy of being his Shikigami. From there, the wolf mort turns and bites its former master, with a lotus symbol on its forehead. At that moment, our protagonist uses his speed to rescue Aja and holds her in his arms. The man in the hat screams in pain, not understanding why his own familiar is attacking him. Our hero then approaches his new Shikigami and praises it, calling it a good boy. With a furious look, he vows to make Charles pay 100 times over for the pain he caused. In a panic, the man in the hat offers to lure Reiji in exchange for his life to save himself. With his eyes glowing red, our protagonist says it's a good proposal with a dark look. Charles sees an opening and thinks he has a chance to counterattack and turn the tables. Soon after, he creates a giant ice spike and launches it, shouting for the young man to perish. But our hero retorts the insult with a calm look and tells him to perish too, unfazed. He says that taking out Reiji is his job and tells the wolf mort to make Charles feel the same way Aja did. The man in the hat cries in fear and begs for one more chance to save himself from the situation. Without any mercy, the giant wolf charges towards its former master to end it all. Charles cries desperately and tries to remind the wolf mort that he was its former master. But the creature doesn't care and opens its enormous mouth to devour him without any mercy. Meanwhile, our protagonist says someone has been watching him since he left the stage. With a serious look, he challenges the person to come out of hiding and show themselves. The scene shows the vast wheat field where they are, with the stage structure in the background. Suddenly, a hooded guy appears from the middle of the wheat and says he's been caught. Our hero looks at him suspiciously and asks if he's a friend of the man in the hat. The blonde young man panics and denies it immediately, saying he's not an enemy and to hear him out. With no time for that, our protagonist turns away and tells the wolf mort to follow him when it's done eating. The hooded guy thinks that if he can control a rabid dog, maybe he can help him. He then introduces himself as Iberia and recognizes Itsuki as the guy who defeated Takeru Oga. From there, Iberia asks for help and offers creation stones and even weapons as payment. The blonde young man is confused because he thought anyone would accept a reward like that. He remembers his father saying that rewards need to be relevant, like water in the desert. A real reward is a blade for the Avenger or medicine for the wounded. With a smile on his face, Iberia says he finally understands what our protagonist needs. He warns that walking slowly with the injured girl, she might not make it to the hospital. From there, the blonde young man reveals he has a healing item and shows a glowing scroll. As our hero walks away, he shouts with confidence that he can save the assistant with his item. Faced with the situation, Itsuki stops and turns the surprised look and asks if it's true. Iberia confirms that the healing won't be instant, but it will definitely save the woman's life. Our hero then asks if the item works over clothes, and the blonde says it's a rare artifact. The hooded young man realizes he's a rookie, and that's why he doesn't know about artifacts. He explains that normal weapons don't work against the beasts, but artisans create special items. From there, he reveals that artifacts are divided into 4 categories: common, rare, epic, and unique. Common ones are basic weapons like longswords that can injure monsters and awakened. Rare and epic ones increase the user's stats and also have useful special effects. Finally, unique ones are the pinnacle, with massive bonuses and powerful, game-changing abilities. Iberia says that artisans aren't strong, but they are highly respected by everyone for creating the artifacts. Our protagonist understands that his father is an artisan, but the blonde says he's one of the top 10. With a smug smile, he reveals that his father has already created 3 of the 10 unique artifacts. Because of this, his old man is known to everyone as the powerful artisan king of the north. But the blonde young man gets annoyed because our hero is completely ignoring him and turns his back, not caring about the story. Itsuki picks up the crossbow that Charles dropped on the ground earlier. Iberia can't believe he's not phased, and our protagonist thinks about how he can use the weapon. He then approaches and says the crossbow is a rare artifact that generates its own ammunition. Suddenly, the weapon disappears, and the blonde explains that soul-bound artifacts can be stored. Our protagonist